Welcome to the Zachrilege Cast podcast, YouTube video interview program that features me talking to some of the best and brightest in the atheist/secular/awesome community. This is episode number 152. The interview was recorded on July 11th, 2018. This is a very special, super duper episode, and I'm so happy that I don't have to do most of the extra junk that I usually do with an episode. This is the second part of my Sharona interview. The part that focuses on the show we did together called Going for Two. If you don't know, well, you missed out because this rollicking high blood alcohol content football show was a lot of fun, but all things must pass. I'm leaving, and this time it's for real. Going for two, so I'll do this. This is nostalgia.
Promise not to be too bad. No.
Good evening, and welcome to Going for Two. This is the only YouTube podcast in human history to feature me and Sharona drinking our way through the important topics of the day, even if it's just me drinking beer, as long as they touch the football world, and not in that way. Hi.
Hi.
The first episode of the show was April 2nd, 2014. And we already discussed the fact that it was called Sharona and the Hater.
Yeah.
And what I like is over a period of 4 years, the Hater kind of changed. Like when we first started doing the show, this Going for Two was a show that was pretty much 100% about the Tennessee Titans for probably 3 years.
Pretty much.
And initially, Sharona was pro-Titans and I was kind of meh. And then, over time, we kind of, I don't know if we switched. I think
let's just be honest. Sharona was fucking pissed that they hired Ken Wisenhunt, who she didn't think was a very good coach, and tried to tell everybody. And hey, who was right?
You miss Mike Munchak, don't you? We can go for full sports ball now. So
okay, okay.
We're basically every feud that we've had in the past 4 years, we're going to try to cover in a short period of time. It might not be a short period of time. We'll see how it goes.
All about it.
There is no time
We
frame on that.
Listen, we argued in DMs today about the supplemental draft. Didn't you miss arguing with me?
Oh, the good old days. We don't. It's kind of refreshing to just have a disagreement with someone where you actually are still friends and don't want to hate the other person after it's over.
I know.
That's a nice throwback. I think that's one thing that sports still kind of does well.
Sorta.
Is like if you're doing a fantasy football draft, you can actually disagree about the value of players and go, okay, we'll see, because truly we will see, and it's going to be a while. But I have to ask this, and this is I'm probably have to duck because you're going to throw something at me. I don't remember when we first met in person. I don't know if it was at a Titans tailgate or if we met through Twitter, but
I don't remember either. I think we met on Twitter.
Because it was I had kind of gotten to know some of the members of a Titans blog that we don't have to mention by name if you don't want to. And that might have been how we met in person. That's definitely how we decided to do a show. Because there already was one Titan show. Why does it need to be two, right?
Yeah. I don't mind talking about it. I mean,
forgot about Jamalisms. People we'll get to some of our favorite and just general guests we've had on the Going for Two as well later.
I've never been the kind of person that wants to hold grudges, that walks around, I might not forget some of the bullshit you pull on me, but I do my best to try to.
Me in particular, my shit.
Yeah, to try
anything. Come on.
To try and forgive it, because it's such a burden to carry that stuff around with you. Yeah, I mean, I can disagree with people and not think anything about it, but I've learned the hard way that not everybody's like that.
Yeah, it's because I don't know. It was early on in the fantasy football community, it was all love, and early on doing Zachrilege cast, the atheist community was all kind of love, and that's not the case anymore. You definitely find people, although really, I don't know if I can say this universally, but generally speaking, I get a people are definitely, maybe it's because it's a relatively small community. The fantasy football community usually helps each other out, but it wasn't really fantasy football. It was like a Titan site, and yeah, I don't know. It definitely got dark.
Yeah,
And I lost track of, I mean, I still follow like the site in general, but I don't really follow any of the personalities anymore. Because I was never really that close. Like, you actually wrote for the site. You knew these people more or less.
well, I thought I did.
Yeah, well,
I
true.
thought I did. I thought I was cool with, with, I tried to be, cool, as cool as possible with people, but yeah, I don't know. They, yeah, I don't know. One of them, after I quit writing for that site, I was doing a Yahoo Sports radio show and writing for some other people, and I guess I had made one of them mad. I don't even know how. But he kept coming in our mentions talking about how shitty our show was, and just really. And then it was at a time when I was still kind of reeling from this bad thing that I had told you about. This was, I think, before you and I met, Zach, and it was very hurtful. Really kind of contributed to, well, I'll just go ahead and say it. So I had a breakdown, and that was kind of during that time period when I was drinking heavily, and I kind of recovered from it, but yeah, it was weird. I to this day I don't know why those guys had such hatred toward me, but they sure did. Anyway, I wish them well. I hope they're doing well. You know,
I wouldn't wish them
kind of.
well, but I never, yeah, I was at the point where they were like, hey, you want to write about the draft? And then I was like, and then that was kind of it. And I'm kind of glad that was it. But that, yeah, you definitely learn about the business and interpersonal stuff when you get involved in this. And it's such a downer. And we've been talking about downer stuff, but let's talk about up. Let's get excited here.
Sorry. I
What
mean,
on
sorry.
earth made you think this guy, I should do a show with him, and we should talk about the Titans, and we should do a YouTube show? Because you were the one who had been, at least you were involved. I had
Yeah.
never done this before.
At the time, I was doing a show for NGSC Sports called The Extra Point, and it was a YouTube show, and I think I was doing. Gosh, I don't even remember the name of the show. I was doing a show with with some other women at NFL Female. Holy cow, I can't remember the name of that show.
Was it the Titans version? Did they
No, this
have
was
ones for every team?
no, this was just oh my God. See, I've just been gone too long. What was that? Anyway, let me look at my YouTube channel. I'll be
I was
able to
like, can
tell
you
you.
remember all of your shows? That's the
Ah,
downside. Is I was trying to like go and manually count like how many episodes did we do, and I was like, no,
well,
we never numbered them.
we had a
So
couple of different names. It started out as Cover 3, and then we changed it to oh my God. Anyway, we did it on Tuesday night. So anyway, so I was doing a couple of other, and I guess you and I just tossed that idea around, and um, you know, we said let's see how this goes, and we had a long run. We we had a lot of good guests on. We had a long run. We had a lot of fun, I thought.
I thought I was like out of well, I can't, I don't go back and look at the individual episodes, but I was like out of I doubt we went more than 2 weeks between episodes during
Yeah.
that time period because I'm pretty sure it was like post Super Bowl was the
At
last
one time, I had a count. I think it was in the 300s.
Can't imagine. I mean, I'm just thinking like weekly. It's like 50-ish a year. We did 4 years. We might have done 200. I don't know.
Okay.
It was between
Maybe it was
that
200.
and Know Your Enemy and the Ask Your Fantasy Football Expert series, which that one didn't get an exit interview. That one just died. I just stopped doing it. I never thought about doing it again. So how did you feel, and be honest, when I said, hey, let's meet at a Tennessee Titans football game, and then my phone died as soon as I got to the game?
um, yeah, it was kind of weird, but I didn't really think that much of it. I mean, I like to give you a hard time about it, right? And a lot of things I like to give you a hard time about it, but no, I mean, shit like that happens. I didn't think that much of it.
It was weird.
I didn't think you were avoiding me or anything. I just, thought it was.
It's weird to think back in the day where I didn't pay attention, like super to my phone charge status. Like now I'm like, there's no way I'm going to a football game without like 90% charge at least, because they do have Wi-Fi at the NFL games, although it's not very good Wi-Fi. At least it's
Well, at
better
the
than nothing.
time, I don't think at the time the Titans had Wi-Fi.
No, they only got it like a couple years ago, but
Yeah.
I remember going to, it might have been like a season finale when they were playing the Texans, and the Texans had already clinched the division. And I met you, and I had already bought my two 22-ounce fat tires, and I was like double fisting in the first quarter. So that
Was
was
I
funny.
drinking the pink drink? Wasn't I
It was
drinking
possible. I do
Yeah.
remember you talking about going to a game where it froze because it was so cold.
That was the Pittsburgh game. I'll never forget it. That
Was
might
that
have
the
been.
playoff game?
No, it was not it was
Because they like beat them
Sunday
to
night
win
or
the
Monday night
division.
game.
Oh, there was a Monday night game. It was so cold that my
I mean,
cousin bought winter
drink,
clothes for his kids, and we left at halftime. Yeah.
my drink froze in my plastic glass. It was that cold. Until you and I went with Josh, I think. That was the last game that I had been to. I didn't the
Didn't you have season tickets for a while, or
there for a long time. I went to every game. I mean, I went to a lot of the away games. That Pittsburgh game, it was cold. It was everything about the game was. I mean, I'm not talking about the on the field product. I'm talking about just the experience. The game experience was crap. I didn't enjoy any of it, and I was like,
well,
what they were showing on the screen sucked. The
I
the
think
music
early.
sucked. Everything sucked. I was like, you know what? I'm just not coming back.
I mean, early on when the Titans moved to Nashville, the first year they were there, it was such a weird, like, no other NFL team's been through this. Maybe the Raiders are going to go through this,
Yeah.
but they decided to move from Houston, and then they played in Memphis for a year. They played at Vanderbilt, which is a college stadium, for a year, and then they moved to their own stadium, and they had this great year. And it was the first time they made the playoffs for a while. And the Music
1999.
City Miracle, which I didn't go to because my cousin was getting married that day, and I was hungover, and I barely watched. I only saw the very end, which, by the way, on replay, that game was terrible until the end. And that was an example of Jeff Fisher. Really should have. They could have gotten rid of Jeff Fisher like 5 years earlier if they had lost that playoff game. By the way, just saying, we could have done without that Kevin Dyson play. And I'm still mad that the team gave their season ticket holders, they give a bobblehead of a player every year, and it was Kevin Dyson. I'm like, God, the teams were bad if he was one of the guys you give a bobblehead for. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's fun.
Did I answer your question?
I don't remember. But what was it like to do? I mean, did you ever care? Like, for a while, I was like, hey, how come more people aren't listening to this show? And then I was like, yeah, but I get to talk to Sharona for an hour a week, and it's fun, and we talk about sports, and I don't get to talk about sports that much. And occasionally we had guests, and that was cool, but it was just like, let's have fun for an hour and not worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it was fun. Sure.
Are you sure it was?
Yeah.
Do you have favorite, least favorite moments of the show?
Oh
You have things that
gosh.
come up. I know we had a few
Um
episodes. Let me give you a prompt. Me leaving the auction last year.
I will never ever forgive you for that.
Uh,
That was
so
awful.
let's catch people up. So there's
So,
this for the non-football people. There's this thing called fantasy football, and for the fantasy football people, we decided to do. We've done this, I think, 3 years. An auction.
yeah.
And fantasy football auction has got to be one of the most tedious versions of picking a team
It's awful.
because when you do a fantasy football draft, you know you're picking like eighth in a round. So you're ready when your pick comes up, but when your pick isn't up, you don't really pay attention. When you do an auction, every single player pops up and you have to bid, not bid. And the first year took like 3.5 hours. And after like 3 hours, I had way too much beer
Zach was
and I
drunk.
was done. And I
I
knew
was
I had to,
drunk, but I
I
stayed
knew
the
I
whole
had to get,
time.
I knew I had like 6 players on my roster who are going to be totally random and like the worst guys. And I just walked off. I didn't say bye. I just went to bed because my bed is right across the hall.
I know. I was
And
like,
my
"Where's
wife's like,
Zach
"What's going
go?"
on?" And I'm like, "I'm just tired." And I
I think it was
left.
Michael Stepney who hung out
And my
most.
team was the
Michael and
worst
Richie and
team in the league. So
yeah.
yeah.
I went. I was drinking brandy, and that was
Oh God. See, that's
might
the
have been
thing.
might have been the
I
last
remember
time
when
I
that,
drank brandy.
you're one of those weird people that I don't understand. You'd have like 2 beers in the house, and once you're out of beer, you would drink whatever that you had, and it would be brandy 1 year. I can't even like imagine
I
how.
went on a rant about the
Mhm.
Titans and their defense, and as it turned out, I was right.
And you made some bets, and that was
I
fun.
made some bets I was not right about. I don't think. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Katie.
But I don't know. There's something to be said because YouTube. There are a lot of like 3 hour videos out there, but for us, we would only do an hour, but that would be 3.5 hours, and you can't keep recapping players who are picked after a while. You're just like, I don't care anymore. just
That's a little much. I don't. I
That's
mean,
why I like the draft we did.
Yahoo.
The draft, I was preparing for it to be like 2 hours, and we were done in like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And what my favorite part is Don, of course, Don won the league, and I actually did like a Facebook video before to give Don the trophy. And then when the actual draft happened, I was talking, but Don was sitting like 3 feet away from me, but he was in his own zone. He was not going to talk. He was not going to interact. He was trying to concentrate because Don gets a little crazy when it comes to drafting, as we know. And I don't know. I definitely want to do the league this year. I was thinking maybe we could all meet in a place, but I don't think that's going to happen. We'll probably have to do it online. But
Yeah.
maybe some of us can meet in person because Don has to give the trophy to Chuck, and Don and Chuck have a history, you know.
I did not know for the longest, but now I do. You finally shared that. I forget when, but it was on one of the last shows we did.
Yeah, they're not as close, but they're gonna be close for for a day. We'll see if we can do. I would like to do it in person because
I think I would like to be
there
there
was
in
a
person.
there was a fantasy league
Yes.
that I was in with Don and Chuck, and my dad was in it. And then one year, Chuck, my dad, and Don just said we don't want to be in it anymore, and I was like, oh, okay. So I left too, and then it was like, oh, what do we do now? Oh, let's start a new league. And have you noticed in 2 years of this league, first year Don wins, second year Chuck and I in the championship? I'm just saying, top of the league, baby. Poor Sharona had a bad week that first year because you had the number one team, and then you had a bad first week of the playoffs.
Oh my God, yes. I had the best team in the league, and then, but it was, I mean, it certainly wasn't just me. It was that one year where a lot of good teams. It was just a crappy week for a lot of people. It happens. Jennifer Eakins, she beat me. Hi, Jen. It's all right.
It's all right. So you have, so I'm going to try to list some of the guests we've had in the past. Feel free to add some of your own.
Okay.
Like Jamal, who I almost forgot, I threw him in there. Mike Margosian, who I've been happy to hear. He's been drinking his stouts in the summer. I'm a
Love
stout
Mike.
and summer guy. And he set up our auction league, and he was actually setting up auction leagues where he would get like a part of the cut, and with us, he just did it. And he actually stayed for the entire draft, unlike some people. And of course, we have the Cabo Cove and Lisa London. We have Jen Ryan, Dawn, of course.
And of course,
Sharona's
Katie.
favorite.
Wasn't Katie on the show a couple of
Katie was
times?
on. Jennifer, you mentioned her, the Monday mommy. We had Sigmund Bloom on a couple of times, which is Matt Wallman, who lives like 20 minutes from me, and I really should meet up with him now that he's not doing RSP. Mike Wollert's been on a couple times, 4 for 4. Bob Lung, Jody Smith, Bob
Scott
Harris, who's one of the just amazing.
Scott's been on a few times. Scott Fish.
Yeah, this is Scott's week. Keith Myers, Ed Katie, we mentioned before, and don't know anybody else. Yeah, I was going to ask, so do you have a second favorite guest after Dawn?
I love all of our guests. Of course, it's always fun having Lisa and Katie on because, we like to give each other a hard time. Jody's always a pleasure because I love hearing Jody's been doing this for so long, and isn't he the one that has the notebooks that I want? I want his notebook.
He started doing a show, and he was talking about that because he's the handwritten
I want to see
fantasy football before the internet, where people manually sent in scores every week. That's something I definitely missed.
Yeah, Keith was fun. Mike Wallert, and his love for the Browns, and yeah. It's a good group.
The time I tried to call in when I was driving from a work event and my audio was so bad.
Was that Mike? I think it was Mike. Mike, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you guys were like, we're just going to do this. I'm like, good idea. But we have to do this. This might be the last time. We'll see. One more time for the crowd.
Oh, no.
Over it or not.
Okay.
You might have to,
sure.
Would have to do this one more time.
Yeah.
So hashtag over it or hashtag nah, paying attention to sports again.
I don't know. I'm back. I'm doing the Scott Fish thing, which thanks Scott for letting me in. Back on social media, I gave up all forms of social media. It was being very detrimental to my health too, and so kind of being away was good. So I've been doing the SFB draft and back on social media, kind of as a test to see, how I would do. And, so far, so good. So we'll see. I'm going to leave that open.
Okay, that's an acceptable answer. Over it or nah, igniting the fire.
So when you said you don't know this because you don't play video games nearly as much as I do. You don't play the games that I do.
No.
So the funny thing about that, and the reason why it was so funny to me, is that I had just created a new character, which is a Dragon Knight, which has an ignite fire talent skill. So it was kind of, yeah, let's ignite the fire. And she's awesome. So anyway, no, I'm not, I will never be over igniting the fire. But we didn't start the fire.
No, Billy Joel.
Hat tip to Billy Joel.
Well, I think I know the answer to this one. Over it or nah, beer.
I don't know. I mean,
over it.
I guess I'm over it.
I'm over it for tonight.
Yeah, I'm not going to drink for a good while. Let my body really, hopefully, try to recover. At some point, I'll probably finish what I do have, but it'll be a good while before I try that again.
Well, I've told you before, and I'll say it again. I have tickets for the Titans Eagles and Titans
Okay.
Patriots. And there is an
I
extra
don't.
ticket
Well, they're
waiting.
both pretty obnoxious fan bases.
I don't remember, like, I remember going to, it was Titans Patriots, like, opening day a few years ago, and I knew they were going to beat the crap out of the Titans, and they did. I feel like they have a shot, but we'll see. And the Eagles, it's really hard to say here to the Super Bowl. Carson
Super,
Wentz tore his ACL like in December, and people were drafting him like as the fourth quarterback. Like, okay, guys, have fun with that.
Super Bowl
I'm
curse.
surprised you didn't do that, but you couldn't because you love Marcus. Marcus, baby.
Well, here was the thing. I can't remember if Wentz was out there. Luck was out there. I have no idea why Andrew Luck's ADP is so high. But anyway, I was absolutely not going to draft Andrew Luck. I think Wentz was out there. Who else was out? Oh, Drew Brees. I gave really,
Jesus.
I gave really serious
Park the
thought.
seas, breezes.
Gave really serious thought to drafting Breezes, who our politics does not mesh. But as a player, I adore him, and he's so great and everything. But I really feel like Old Man Time's going to get him this year. I think that I was scared to draft him. So, you know, I don't think that you can reach in Scott Fishbowl because it's such a deep league, and you better go get what you can while you can. So I went ahead and drafted Marcus Mariota.
Well,
Who I feel, who
we'll
I
talk
really,
SFB in a minute.
okay. You haven't hated on a single pick of mine. I don't even know you. What's that?
Over it or nah, I'm going for 2 redraft.
No, I'm not over it. Unless we should do one.
Over it or nah, going for 2 auction.
No, I don't want to do an auction.
You're done with auctions?
They're just not that fun to me.
Well, the best ball, like, I like the concept of the best ball in fantasy because you just draft players and then your best players are picked.
But
Because
that's why it's not
it's
fun.
so hard to make picks, or I guess it depends on, it's so hard out of context. It's so hard to make weekly picks, but at the same time, if you're not engaged in your team, then it doesn't seem to matter. But we'll do over it or not. Scott Fishbowl is, how many years have you done the Scott Fishbowl?
4, I think.
And let's explain so the Scott
I
Fishbowl
think.
is a fantasy football league, but it has, like, I'd say many of the main well-known names in the industry, and I don't even know how many people are in it this year. Is it like 840? It's crazy. But he names the divisions like he has a theme to it, and this year I think it was comedy. And the name of my division is a character from a show called Better Off Ted that I've never heard of. So it's kind of weird.
Animated. It's animated.
Because last year it was like Disney, and I was in the Tinkerbell division, which I thought was great because I was in it with Sharona, and I was in it. Lisa was in it, I think, as well.
I think I've got my Tinkerbell up here. I do.
And this year I'm in a league, and I know a few of the people, but what I like about this is the scoring is different than most leagues. It's point per first down as opposed to point per catch, although I think point per catch is there. And you only have 4 positions, and it's super flex, so you should take 2 quarterbacks. And, it's 4 positions, and they're all pretty evenly valued, and there are many ways to skin that proverbial cat when it comes to making your picks. Because I've had plans. I know, like, 2 years ago I drafted a ton of, like, tight ends early, and I actually had a really good team. I just forgot to start Travis Kelce on a Thursday night, and that screwed me in playoff week. And last year I had a good draft.
What was that name? Who was the Tampa Bay running back? We haven't even talked about that.
Oh, what was his name? Yeah, the guy I told you to trade a dynasty pick for.
So glad that Dynasty League folded because that was.
I saw he was like that running back was on. I think it
He
was like on the
fumbled like
Giants.
3 times in the first 5 minutes, and I literally wanted to jump to the computer and choke
I
Zach.
remember starting that guy, and I can't remember his name because like he actually had a decent game because in the last drive of the game he caught like 6 passes for like 15 yards, and it saved his day. But yeah, I remember like don't take advice from me when it comes to pretty much anything, but definitely when it comes to fantasy football. But I think that's something that definitely unites people is I can remember like the dumb picks I've made in fantasy leagues for like the last decade. And I can remember the time the guy drafted David Boston in our fantasy league
Oh,
and
there's
he
the name.
injured himself the week before and we all
Oh my
went.
god.
Or the one time the guy took Adrian Peterson, but he took the Adrian Peterson from the Bears. We had to
Ooh.
decide whether to let him take the. It was a tough day when they had 2 guys with the same name. Then we ended up giving him to him, but
My first
yeah.
my first time playing fantasy football. What was that? I drafted I was a noob. It was an Atlanta Falcons running back. He had TJ Duckett.
That's what Chucky was calling for years, TJ Fuck It, just because he was not. He had one year where he had like 8 touchdowns, but he was not very good. That was, I think, that was in
Well,
the
see,
Vic.
I didn't
That was in
know.
the Vic
I mean,
era.
I was like, he's
See,
got a
now
lot
I'm
of.
gonna go
I,
look up
yeah.
the Tampa Bay Bucks.
I mean, I watch sports, but it was mostly centric to the teams that I liked, and so I just looked at the guys who were good the year before, and I was but I actually had
Those,
yeah, but I mean, I made the playoffs. I almost went all the way, so I kind of made up for my. I had the misfortune to do that, but the great fortune to get a steal in Curtis Martin, who was I think coming off a bad injury, and everybody was afraid of him, and I ended up drafting him, and he had that great year. I mean, I took Vince Young. This must have been 2006, maybe. Took
wow, baby.
took Vince with my very last pick. Jake Delhomme was my
Still have
quarterback.
Jake Locker.
Yeah, I mean, I got lucky in a lot of respects. So anyway, made a playoff
I just remember
run.
the year I drafted Santana Moss, the year that Randy Moss had that crazy year, and I passed on him. Yeah. Or the year when Peyton was coming back from his injury and he had like 50 touchdowns, and Robert Griffin were both on the board, and I took Jay Cutler.
Oh
by
my
by
God.
the way, Jay Cutler.
Hey, I don't want to work Cutler.
Jay Cutler is now like a reality TV star. Like his wife has a show, and he's the star of it. Let's see. No, I have to go back a year. I was looking at Tampa Bay running backs, and 2016 was too soon. I'll know him as soon as I see the name. I know I'll know this guy.
I'll know it too. I don't remember it now
Jake.
though.
I still have my Jake Locker though, and I also have the Pac-Man. Thank you for sharing the Pac-Man video.
How
It was
big of
Bobby
a
Rainey. Bobby Rainey.
Bobby Rainey.
Bobby Rainey, y'all.
Like though, seriously, how big of a dumbass are you to pick a fight with Pac-Man Jones? I mean,
That's what I said
he
to
deserved
I
an
said
ass
to
whooping
Alvin.
for
I
being
was
a
like,
stupid head.
how come Pac-Man always seems to get into these issues? Like, is it because he just has bad luck, or just people see a guy as like an NFL player, but he's short and think they can take him? That was really weird because I think he's finally like done. I have the Pac-Man jersey still that my mom sewed the Pac-Man on it, and he never played a game for the Titans after that, which was great. My Titans jersey history is bad. That's why I'm probably never going to buy another one, just because
Yeah.
I had the Vince Young, the Jake Locker. Well, I had a white check, that red one that they had that one year, and I wish I kept that.
So why do you think DeMarco Murray's still unsigned?
I guess he wants more money, or he wants to be in a good situation, because I heard about him going to Seattle. I had him as a rookie in a dynasty league, and I finally got rid of him. My dad picked him up, and I wish I had traded him the first years with the Titans because running backs in dynasty, they do not last long. Speaking of Bobby Rainey,
Are
his value didn't even last a quarter.
are
And
you
some
shocked?
guys.
Are you shocked I didn't draft Derrick Henry or Delaney?
I took Henry. I actually did a Scott Fishbowl like a mock draft, and I took Derrick Henry like in the third, and I got him in the fifth.
Mm.
And I just people just assume that Dion Lewis. First of all, Dion Lewis last year was the first time he ever played 16 games. He's like one of those guys you give a big contract to, and he gets hurt like in week one.
Yeah.
And Derrick Henry's just built for. He can't pass block, as if you saw the Kansas City playoff game where Mariota got creamed because Henry didn't block anybody. He's a big guy. He just doesn't, pick up the blitz so well.
That is definitely not his strong point.
Unfortunately, Derrick Henry really should have been in the NFL, like during the Earl Campbell or Eddie George, where you basically say, our offense is we give the ball to our running back 30 times a game until he disintegrates. But that's not the NFL. And I think the Titans coaching staff is going to be like the Patriots, where like, okay, this week, this team, it's a Derrick Henry week. This week, it's a Dion Lewis week. Like they're going to do that kind of thing. And if you know in fantasy, that's going to help you. If you don't, then you're going to have weeks where you're really, really pissed off. But that's what fantasy football is all about, is to get us pissed off about
If you're
things
not
that
pissed
don't
off
matter.
playing fantasy football, you're doing it wrong.
Exactly. But yeah, we definitely need to, since we weren't able to, I think they were letting people kind of pick their divisions in Scott Fishbowl. I wasn't paying attention. We should have gotten the same division again. But if we're going to we should do the Yahoo League, and then we can,
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Because that was my favorite part of week one, that one year where Josh came down and we went, and the
That
Titans
was
looked like
fun.
crap against the Vikings, and he wore a sweater, and he just was loving
He was
life.
popular. People loved
And I
him.
had a great week, and I beat the crap out of you in fantasy, and then the rest of the year, your team was awesome. And until week 13, and that's way it goes.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
kind of
well.
a rule. Like we used to have in that fantasy league we were in, I feel like it was like 6 years in a row. The number one team would always lose to the number 8 in the first round of the playoffs. That's just like you have a great year and then you have a shitty week and you're done. And that's how it goes. Because it's fantasy football. Yeah, if you don't want that dragon's milk, I can take it off your hands. No worries.
Is that all the over it or not?
That was, the Scott Fishbowl was the last. Oh, I have to also bring this up since we almost every time I go to Nashville, I get hot chicken. And so tomorrow, Allison's doing a book event. She's doing one tonight, too. And it's at a brewery, and it's across the street from the Atlanta location of Hattie B's, which is opening tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
And she asked me if I wanted to go. I was like, yeah, twist my arm. I don't think I'm going to go to Hattie B's tomorrow because I have a feeling it's going to be insane.
Probably.
Because they've been trying to open this place for like a year, and they just finally got it open. And I know it's going to be crazy.
Well,
Plus, the brewery we're going to be at has pretty good food and really good beer. Last time I was there, I had like this
that'll be
blackberry
fun.
beer, and I had this English special bitter that was like aged in oak that was really good. That's where they had a strong beer festival. I went to a strong beer festival. This would make your liver flip. Every beer was at least 8%. Yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty strong. I don't think I'm up for beer events anymore. It's a little too much at once. There's a time and place, I guess, and I think that's in your 20s. Now it's like, I got to go to work tomorrow, and it's after 9 o'clock. I can't drink anymore. What happened? We used to be contenders, Sharona.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting old, buddy.
Nuh-uh.
Uh-huh.
So your cats actually want to come in during your show?
Oh, yeah. They've been at the door the whole time.
Because mine are asleep in some other room.
I think they finally gave up. I heard one just as you were saying that, though, so someone's out there.
I mean, that's one of those awe moments is like looking back at older shows and then seeing the cats that aren't
Yeah.
here anymore and going, oh
I
man.
know. Or the doggies. Libby was okay. Now wait, I'm gonna have to look
On
up.
your Sports by Sharona site, you talk about you are a lawyer currently and you have a Libby is on there.
Oh, I need to change that.
That's like, those bios. Yeah. Yeah, so when's the last pick you made in the fishbowl? Because we have the same
Um,
slot. We're both pick 10.
I probably am up to the last my Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, you're definitely ahead because I made my 803 pick like right before the show. Jarvis Landry, baby.
It may
I
be in
took
my
I
it may
took
be
the
in my Twitter
I
bio.
took Delaney Walker
Zone Blitz.
710. Zone Blitz, what the show?
That was the name of our show. It was called the NFL Zone Blitz.
Could you
NFL.
name all the shows you did? Because there were Back Talk, and then you did the show with Vashti, which I don't remember what it was called. Was it just Sharona and Vashti? I don't know.
Game Over with Vashti and
I
Sharona.
think I snuck out of work to do that once.
Yeah. Game Over with Vashti and Sharona. I my own podcast, the one that I did after that, well, sort of contemporaneously, and after that was first called Sharona Unfiltered, and then I changed it to Back Talk with Sharona, and it was that for a good while. The Extra Point, the NFL Female Show that I mentioned. If there's another one I can't remember. Yeah.
So much history. I think I was on a show with Fantasy Taz like in 2013. That might have been the first one I did. And I remember they asked me about Jimmy Graham because he was going into his second year, and they talked him up, and I'm like, I don't get it. He like played 1 year in college, and he caught like 17 passes, and I remember that. And then in our local draft, I took him like early, and then he was like a keeper of mine for years because he was really good. I'm like, okay, sometimes you have to listen. I mean, the only downside is just so many shows. I don't listen
Yeah.
too much anymore. I do listen to the Audible just because I still like them, and I like that Matt Wallman does his own show, and he just starts talking. No music, no crazy stuff. He just starts talking.
Yeah, there and that was one thing that sort of made it easier for me to walk away and take a break is there's such a glut of coverage out there. There's just so much content and the industry's changing. I don't know that there's that much of a market. I mean, hopefully I had good, smart opinions. I don't know that there's that much of a market for that anymore. Most of it seems to be stupid.
Most of it seems to be stupid. Well, that's sometimes it's the way it goes. But damn, we've been talking an hour and a half. Look at that.
Wow.
Boom. I didn't hear from Don, so I don't know if he made it. But do you have any last thoughts on going for two? Will you ever forgive me for my auction departure?
No, I'll never forgive you for that or Bobby Rainey.
Can I buy
And I
hot
mean
chicken to make up for it?
and it's sounding like you've decided that it's over, which is, okay.
If there ever is a show in the future, I feel like it should be another name. I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like it ended, but
Okay.
I
Well,
didn't want it to go without chatting
something.
and recapping and remembering the good times, remembering the times that maybe weren't so great. Those are good too. It's acceptable. And the fact that we've met up a few times, and even non-football, we've played video games together. Although we need to find
You
a
went
game.
to sleep.
We need to find a game we're on the same level. Because the games where you play for like 32 hours straight, can't do that. But Pac-Man or something like that, yeah. Burger time. There we go. Burger time for the
Okay.
win.
Well, goodbye going for two. You were fun while you lasted.
True that. Well, thanks for being on, Sharona. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll be definitely talking,
Okay.
sports or otherwise.
Thanks for having
And we
me.
have a green tea together.
Okay.
I might like that. You don't
Green
know.
tea's
You
it's
don't
good.
know.
It's good stuff.
Good night, everybody. I'm tired of hurting. This ain't no good anymore. There'll be no live read for this portion of the show, so we'll just go with the finish. If you want to support this show, be like Bobby, Hugh, Teody, Larry, Daryl, and the other Daryl, and go to patreon.com/Zachrilege. Follow me on Twitter, like the Zachrilege cast page on Facebook, and send all other NFL teams I should root for to zachrilege.cast@gmail.com. Thanks to Sharona for sharing and being a great co-host for 4 years, and now and forever, a trusted friend.